Football Friday. It's the PHNX Cardinal Podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star. Johnny Venerable, Brack here at the PHNX headquarters in downtown Phoenix. And well, the line keeps moving in favor of our precious Redbirds. Brack, 5.5 now down to 4. Can the Cardinals get a win this weekend?
There's blood in the water. This is a vulnerable Giants team, and as far as opportunities to get a dub, I think this is going to be the biggest chance the Cardinals can get in the win column over the next couple of weeks, especially when you have Dallas coming to town in week 3, and then you go on the road against the stout San Francisco 49ers team. This is it. If Jonathan Gannon wants to change the narrative, and they did a good job in week 1, but it slipped through their fingers, this is it right now.
You made an interesting comment to me off air that I think is interesting in a lot of different aspects. But, Jonathan Gannon, usually pretty low-key, dare I say, like playful guy with the media, very much about business last week and especially this week. Like the intensity with Gannon has cranked up. And like you can be tongue-in-cheek with that and say, well, who cares if they don't win? The defense was a reflection, I think, of the intensity that exudes from their head coach. And I think we see a continuation of that this week, Brack. I think his mantra and his experience specifically against this division, the NFC East, and having a calling card and immense success against Daniel Jones and company, like that's not nothing. I think we see a continuation of the defense we saw from last weekend.
And it kind of works out well and plays into the hands of a Jonathan Gannon. Sure, as far as like roster-wise, you're not where you want to be, right? I mean, you've got some people in place that you like, that you drafted, that you took, that you signed to deals in free agency, but as far as just familiarity.
Yeah.
To start with Washington and having somewhat, I know you had a different play caller on the offensive side of the football, but you had a little familiarity. These next 2 weeks, they really have familiarity, and they can look at the tape and what 2023 presents, but also harken back to where he's had some previous success, and he's had a lot of success against the Giants. Like the only win that the Giants had against Jonathan Gannon coach defense was 13-7.
Yeah.
So JG's unit did very well. But what you were talking about, Jonathan Gannon, last Friday, he seemed dialed in, very short with his answers. His mind is on and his focus is on the game that is only, 48 hours away at this point. And it's kind of like talking to Randy Johnson on game day. You almost don't want to do it. It's like He's going to bite your hand off. But, JG, he knows it's part of the gig, and he answered questions this morning. He was there 5 minutes early and was out, by like, I think 9:02.
Yeah.
And he was to his team, getting them ready for practice and getting them ready for Sunday against the G-Men.
There's good comments. You guys are crushing it already in the chat. I want to get to a comment Jose made specifically about Gannon as it relates to being frustrated with Drew Petzing. And I think the fan base is frustrated with Drew Petzing. I don't know if Jonathan Gannon is. Jose saying Gannon is frustrated with him. Defense played up to their talent level, whereas, Petzing better step up offensively. I do agree with the latter part of that. I think if you ask people from afar, contrary to popular belief here locally, the Cardinals have more talent offensively. They certainly have bigger names. James Conner, Zach Ertz, Trey McBride, right? Rondell Moore, Hollywood Brown, DJ Humphries, Paris Johnson Jr., and you didn't score a touchdown? Like, this team is not a good offensive team. And that dates back to last year. That dates back to when Kyler Murray got hurt. So I do think they've become a defensive team kind of by default. It helps that your head coach is a defensive savant. It's where his background is. But anybody who's predicting this team to win this weekend, I don't know how you can do it other than, hey, they're just going to be a dominant defensive team in the short term until they get more talent, until they get K1 back. I think that the Giants are the perfect adversary for that. You're at home. They're already struggling offensively. They didn't score over 30 points in any game other than one last year. They're not an offensive juggernaut. Like, this is going to be a one-possession game again in the fourth quarter. Can your offense make enough plays, right, at the end of the day? Can they not turn the ball over and get enough explosive plays from Hollywood Brown and James Conner to win? I think they do. But, again, it's got to be driven defensively for I believe, 4 quarters, Bo. You've got to put a complete defensive effort on the field, and you really got to minimize those turnovers offensively.
Yeah, I mean, they showed an ability to kind of overcome some obstacles that they were put in kind of in front of them on last Sunday, but at the same time, they were put in very compromising positions. Like the 29-yard field that they had in front of them, and Sam Howell scampers into the end zone. I'm sure they felt like there was a break down there, and they can You get better. Brian Baldinger pointed out there was a point where there was 10 players just on the field.
Right.
You got to give yourself a chance, but you should be overall encouraged by the defensive effort. But as far as the offense goes, I think Petzing and his group, they do need to show some progress. But here's what I'll say, and here's what I'll kind of caution Cardinals fans to right now on Friday before the Sunday is don't expect it to be leaps and bounds better. Like to your point, like as far as talent goes, as far as performances before, regardless of who the play caller was with Cliff Kingsbury, there hasn't been a whole lot of production from this offense. If they can show operationally that they're better, if they can, hold on to the football and extend some drives, but also putting in some of those splash plays, that should be good enough to win if the defense can be the status quo from week 1 to week 2.
And again, like this show is not going to sit up here and say that Josh Dobbs is some elite signal caller or he can even go out there and play 500 football over the course of 17 games. But the coaching staff believes he's a better option than Clayton Tune right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, as difficult as that was last week, and that was tough to watch at times offensively, I don't think putting in a 5th-round rookie is going to sometime magically fix their offensive woes to their averaging like 25, 30 points per game. Like when you are struggling at quarterback, it's the easiest way to become irrelevant in today's NFL. Like even last night, if you think about Minnesota and Philadelphia, Bo, like Kirk Cousins still was viable at the quarterback position and kept them in that game, as limited as he is as a franchise quarterback. Like Cardinals have a couple steps down from that. And I really like the receiving core and some of these complementary options offensively. And I do think Petzing's got the good stuff from the right kind of offensive philosophy to be able to come in here and produce. But man, when it's like playing, with I don't even know what the analogy I want to say is, but something you're driving a car with 3 wheels to some degree. Mm-hmm. Like you can't maximize that engine and, the surround system or whatever you want on your vehicle. 3 tires on a 4-tire vehicle, you're going to be hampered. And that's what the Cardinals have been.
It's okay. You get an opportunity to go out there on the in Indianapolis and run on the same track as all those open wheel, just souped up race cars, and you've got a 1992 Geo Tracker.
Yeah,
I mean that's what, and you're on like a premier track, but do you have the equipment to where you can contend? I think that it's really going to be tough to tell, right? And I think everybody's calling for a better performance from just the flow of play calling, but also from the execution of the players, because it just wasn't there week 1, and you got to see a step in the right direction. And the people who are calling for perfection, they're just going to be, there's just those fans, right? They don't understand how hard this game is. But, I do get a sense, though, just 2 weeks into it, because talking to Israel Wolfwork today, the quarterback coach for the Arizona Cardinals, and him just, really talking about how much Joshua Dobbs dives into the preparation, how smart he is, and how big of a part of that game is.
Yeah.
Who does that remind you of? Remember who we used to hear about so much? How smart he is, how good he is in the huddle.
Is that Colt McCoy?
No, well, that, but more like Josh Rosen.
Oh, well, don't do that.
Well, I'm not trying
do that.
But like, obviously he's got it between the ears. But when he got out there on the field and the ability to just go out there and obviously put all the preparation and leading up to the games, but then to just go out there and react. I think it's
a different part of the game,
right? And he needs those reps. He needs to get more and more snaps in the offense to where he can more just get out there and react. Hopefully, let it rip a few times, because like we saw that with Rosen like very few times. But if you can get Joshua Dobbs in a spot and he doesn't fall by the wayside like Rosen did in this opportunity, it's important for that, because he's got athletically the mobility, the arm strength, and then between the ears. But why is it not translating on the field? I hope we're not asking that question post game on Sunday.
Well, I mean, like, listen, this is a results-based business, and they're going to have to answer questions as early as week 2, like internally and locally. Like everybody assumes the Cardinals are going to lose this game, are going to be terrible this year. That's fine. That's outside noise. But for your fan base to try to cultivate your 3rd home win in 2 years, let me repeat that. The 3rd time you've got a dub at State Farm Stadium in 2 years, and you're putting out a product right now offensively that can't score points. I don't care if you're tanking, if you're waiting for K1. Fans know you've got $25+ million. Like, why couldn't you go and sign a Gardner Minshew? Why couldn't you outbid, Washington for Jacoby Brissett? Like, you got to be able not only to put a product on the field that your fans can say, hey, this is watchable, but also to evaluate the young players on this roster. And, a lot of people were asking me, like, we were hyping up Michael Wilson. He didn't do anything week 1. I don't know. He caught the really the one good ball that was thrown to him. He's not able to, I don't know, catch 8 of 10 balls because of the limitations of quarterback right now. Same thing for like Rondale Moore and Hollywood Brown. Those guys look good when given, spurts of opportunities. But you told me off air, like you watched some Josh Dobbs tape from last year. He's not going to throw the ball downfield, at least not yet. The comfort level isn't there. And again, like I've been so impressed with how this operation has been ran since Austin Ford and Gannon have got here. Defensively, they're buttoned up. The draft was fantastic. We've already seen a return on investment there. The one thing where you can go back, and again, in a lost year for a lot of people, this may not matter, but man, you fast forward every football Sunday, people want to be able to turn on their team and see competence at quarterback. Yeah. And when you're irrelevant at that position right now, and the Cardinals they can't score touchdowns, that's going to turn people on you. And I don't want that for Drew Petzing every week because I think he's smarter than that. I certainly don't want it for John Gannon.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of Cardinals fans, they just know what they saw on Sunday.
Right.
And they didn't like what they saw, and zero offensive touchdowns, right? But if you look back at Dobbs and his 2 starts at the end of the season for Tennessee, I mean, he was at least capable of being a part of an offense that could go downfield and put up points. And he has to prove that this week because the clock is ticking now. Like it's time for we're not asking for, 4 tutties and no picks and, 300 yards passing, but we're asking for, sustained drives, some splash plays here and there, and offensive scores, putting your team. I mean, they had one opportunity that wasn't enough last week, and they couldn't cash in. It was a bad throw from Dobbs and probably a ball still that Zach Ertz should have pulled down.
It's frustrating. You were at practice today. The injury report, I would say not as frustrating, certainly as years prior. No LJ Collier.
Right.
And right now we think
he's out.
He's officially out, as
so
is
Josh Woods,
friend of the program. So both on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, though, I mean, James Conner was upgraded after 2 straight limited days to full. And that's significant for a guy who I think needs at least 20 touches in this game.
Yeah. I mean, do we want to stick? I mean, these are 2 starters on defense in Woods and Collier.
Yeah.
Do you want to stay there or you want to go with the Conner first?
No. Who replaces these guys?
These are 2 starters for the Arizona Cardinals. At least they did in Washington. Collier, even dating back to the preseason, has been disruptive. He's been a part of that rotation. So now you just slide one guy up in the rotation, and I think that's Dante Still. So I think, we talk about rookie production. There's another rookie for you. This is your 7th rounder, a TFL machine at West Virginia. Maybe a little undersized, but I think he can play that 3-4 defensive end and be part of this rotation. We'll see what Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rawlis say. And then you look at the linebacker spot. Oh, another rookie that could slide up a little. Yeah. So you've got Woods out. Chris Barnes, the veterans, probably slides into the starting lineup. And then I think you've got Owen Papo potentially active on game days and maybe see some snaps come Sunday. So defensively, you're just going to have some guys with inexperience. But if last week was any indication, that shouldn't be that big of a deal because they're only out there, like as far as how they rotate guys in and out. It shouldn't be that big of a difference maker.
I mean, that's the double-edged sword of like, yeah, you don't have any premier Pro Bowl level talent in your front 7, but you've got a bunch of guys that can do the same stuff interchangeably. And I think that helps you in the short term, especially against the Giants offense that could be limited. We'll talk about them here in a little bit, but I'm with you. Like Chris Barnes, to me, the drop-off from Josh Woods, respectively, should be minimal. This is a guy who started games in the NFL. Kazir White is still the alpha at linebacker. He's wearing the green dot. You would assume was outside of the personal foul last week was fantastic. And then I also think like the ability for the secondary to be able to tackle as well as they did. You had Kayvon Wallace in studio earlier this week on the Greg Dortch show. He was fantastic. Talk about, the rookie 6th rounder. Talk about, of course, Jalen Thompson, Budda Baker. They were all fantastic wrapping up. So that limits the explosive plays that a limited team like the Giants is going to be able to have. And certainly bringing down Saquon Barkely is a different animal. But I think the defense, again, I expect this defense to surrender no more than 20 points. I don't see the New York Giants producing 3 touchdowns. And so if the Cardinals can go score for score with them and then get a couple Prater field goals, like they're going to be in this till the very end. I do want to flip to the offensive side. So Kelvin Beachum.
No concern about Budda Baker?
No.
He showed up on the injury report. Now, I don't know if this is gamemanship. But I mean, Budda, we even talked to him yesterday. Seemed like he was rearing and ready to go. And you know one thing about Budda Baker, I mean, as he came back from a high ankle sprain quicker than really anybody has before. Maybe Patrick Mahomes, they're the two exceptions, right? And Budda's playing it like a way.
You think Budda Baker's going to miss the first home game?
No, I don't think so. But it was just really to see him pop onto the injury report after seeing him out there all week at practice and no problem. So something must have come up, or with James Conner getting a clean bill of health, maybe the Cardinals wanted to kind of put the Giants on their heels a little bit. I have no idea, but I'm with you. I think Budda Baker, if he's got a pulse, he's on the football field.
James Conner, I think full go. Would you be surprised if they tried to mix in more Keontae Ingram, set him up for success?
Give him at least a couple runs and
allow him to succeed.
Yeah, exactly. That are more conducive to positive yards, because out of the 5 carries he had, 4 of them were like minus 10 yards last week.
They don't have that change of pace back to be able to manufacture their yards behind the line of scrimmage. They don't have their version of DeAndre Swift or somebody like that who can make people miss behind the line of scrimmage. The Cardinals are very much a 3-yard in a cloud of dust type of offense, specifically at running back. And Keontae Ingram is built like a poor man's James Conner. So run him like James Conner, because I think we've seen it at spurts, whether it's in the preseason this year or last year, that Thursday night game against the Saints, he's able to produce. So I would love to see both those guys. The Giants front seven does not scare me. I don't think it scares the Cardinals. The depth on the offensive line should be better this week. Like DJ Humphries was just okay last week. I don't think he's going to be replaced, but you do have the safety net now of Kelvin Beachum back, full week of practice from that hurt hand. He's going to be active, and that gives you some significant flexibility. Could they go maybe him as their 6th offensive lineman and go heavy? I would love to see the Cardinals do that.
Yeah, something they did that they were no stranger to doing. In the preseason, you saw Dennis Daly was that guy.
Yeah.
And like last week, like there really was no depth. There just wasn't. Beachum, he had the hand injury. It was unfortunate. You had Dennis Daly's injury in the preseason finale. John Gaines, who was actually at practice today supporting his teammates, obviously he suffered the injury. So like the guys that you had as your depth pieces, as the backups, they immediately like went away.
Yeah.
And did you feel comfortable throwing, a Jackson Barton, Elm Manning, who you picked up off waivers like right before the start of the season? Like, could you trust them to go in and play that unique spot where you're an eligible receiver, but you're out there as a 6 blocker? Are you up to speed with what Petzing and what you need operationally, procedurally, to where you're not going to get the team just going back up because you got a procedure penalty, or because you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, and you don't get to benefit from having that 6 blocker. Maybe they feel more comfortable with Beach, and that would be great to see.
Dylan in the chat, run blocking was terrible. It was rough last week. I thought the pass protection was pretty solid, specifically Paris Johnson. But I mean, like, run blocking kind of is a mindset, and you also had one of the most elite defensive lines to try to move around in Washington's front seven. So the Giants don't have that. I think James Conner's due for a big day. Are you due for a big day with our friends at BetMGM? I sure hope so. Hopefully you didn't make the same mistake I did last night. Well, I made a mistake, but then I got remedied for it. I put significant funds on the Vikings money line and the over, and it didn't hit, but I got $25 of free bonus bets back from our friends at BetMGM that I promptly put on women's tennis late at night, and somebody who was minus 500.
My guy was chasing it.
That does not work out either. Bo and I were recording our audio-only podcast, and I'm like, I'll just get my money back real quick with these 25 bonus bucks. But listen, be smarter than me. You can be smart right now. Everybody in Vegas is telling you that the Cardinals are going to get blown out. You want to know how I know that? The line opened up. The Giants were a 5.5-point favorite. It has since been bet down to 4. Vegas is begging people to take the Cardinals +4. Everybody's all over the Giants minus 5.5. We're going to tell you what you should do here in just a couple minutes. But in the meantime, go to BetMGM app. What are you waiting for? You like free money? They're going to hook you up. Place a mere $10 bet. You're going to get up to $200 back instantly in bonus bets, regardless of your outcome. Win, lose, or draw, you're hooked up with our friends at BetMGM. That's bonus code PHNX. Place your first wager on the BetMGM Sportsbook, or go to BetMGM.com. Check out what are you laughing at?
Just what knucklehead takes his $25 bonus and just throws it on a heavy favorite in women's tennis, something you would know
-500,
nothing
she
about.
lost. I won't even reveal her name. She's from Greece. She broke my heart. I'll never bet on her again. It was on the app, and I'm like, I'm feeding for some live sports, and they gave it to me -500. And then I basically flushed my $25 bonus bets. Be better than your boy. Check them out, BetMGM. Check out the show notes for full details. Now listen to Shane Diefenbach talk about it in the disclaimer.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Nevada, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in D.C., New York, or Ontario.
No heartbreaking bad beats with Fubo TV.
No.
And when you're looking for where you're going to watch the game on Sunday, look no further than our friends over at FuboTV.com. Use that code PHNX, or actually just go FuboTV.com/PHNX, and you're going to save yourself 15% on your first month of Fubo Pro. That's with going to the website, FuboTV.com/PHNX. You're trying to tune in to the D-backs as they chase a playoff spot. You're trying to watch the Arizona Cardinals football game on Sunday without any issues. You're trying to watch women's tennis that you threw $25 on a heavy favorite and just have your heart just ripped out of your chest. Well, Fubo TV is going to hook you up. If you're looking outside of sports, of course, they've got everything you want. They got 1,000 hours of cloud DVR included, no extra charge. You can start watching immediately. Go to FuboTV.com/PHNX, and you can start your free trial. Figure out if it's the cutting the cord spot for you. I know that it's for me and Johnny. That's how we tune in each and every night when we're getting our sports fix. Check it out, FuboTV.com/PHNX.
I need to watch the Pac-12 network for reasons I'm not going to disclose right now, and that's how I get it with my friends at Fubo TV. It's seamless. It's fantastic. Spencer76, why, Johnny, why? I was going to send my bet slip that we can all decipher to producer Damon, but I'm not going to subject people to that on a positive football Friday. I did see a question in the chat a little bit earlier, Bo Brock. What's the gut meter at this week? And for those of you who aren't familiar, Bo Brock, with the gut meter, why don't you share what that means?
Producer Damon, we got our clip here of Jonathan Gannon pre-NFC Championship game. We're gonna fucking gut these guys before they just absolutely just crush the San Francisco 49ers. JG, infamous for that saying. So we brought it up. We're gonna effing gut these guys meter where we are going into week 2.
Yeah, baby.
There it is. We are just maxing out the we're gonna gut these guys meter with JG at the top of the thermometer, about to blow that thing, the lid off that thing.
Yeah, Daniel Jones is at the bottom of that gut meter, just completely disheveled after what Jonathan Gannon and company are going to do. It's a gut meter at its all-time high, and hopefully we don't live to regret this. But again, I shit on Mike Kafka earlier this week. This is the most appropriate gut meter that I can have. Mike Kafka and Daniel Jones against Jonathan Gannon is going to look a lot like Sam Howell against Jonathan Gannon. Sam Howell, who is a complete liability. I stand by the gut meter last week, Bo Brock. He fulfilled it. I need back-to-back shutouts for the New York Giants, and I need Jonathan Gannon's defense to absolutely gut Saquon Barkely and company at home in front of a bunch of fans of the Red Sea, the Bird Gang, that desperately need a dub.
Yeah, I think that it only rises because of the urgency of how things ended, the opportunity that was lost on last Sunday in week 1, and then of course just the need and always the momentum you can build from a home win. So let's just ratchet we're gonna effing gut these guys meter all the way up to 110 and make sure that I think that you're going to get that from the Cardinals team and the Red Sea on Sunday.
Somebody asked me, are we going to retire this if the Cardinals continue to struggle? And this is never going away. This is always going to be a fixture of this program as long as Jonathan Gannon is here, for better or worse. Jose, Gannon about to blow a fuse. Petzing, come on, man. Yeah, Petzing might need his own graphic. If Gannon guts another offense and the offense for the Cardinals can't do anything, then we might need to do, a Drew Petzing, I don't know, job security meter at some point. You hate to see that.
My guy.
No, it is. It absolutely. I like Drew Petzing, fellow short king.
Yeah.
I don't like the Giants. And I'm happy to see their injury report, supports a team that right now is going through some stuff.
Yeah, let's get that back up here. We not only did we have the Cardinals, but we also had the Giants, and it was okay. We got the Cardinals, but we've seen the Giants, and it looks like we got a clean bill of health, at least from Darren Waller. There's not going to be any question that number 12 is going to be in the lineup, and the Cardinals prepared for Waller with Elijah Higgins, the tight end, converted tight end from wide receiver from Stanford that they got from waivers before the season started.
Yeah.
He played the role of Waller, so hopefully they got an athletic body that's going to do some things similar to Waller. Obviously not the same level, but they're going to be prepared for him. They didn't. Logan Thomas, the converted quarterback to tight end, it's not exactly the same task as Waller. So it's going to be a big challenge for this defense to take a playmaking tight end out of the game, and of course what you get from Barkley. But they could be without Andrew Thomas, who's officially questionable for Sunday.
Yeah, their offense is so limited, and this is a unit that overachieved last year. They didn't add a premier receiver. Remember, like we had Jordan Schultz and some other people tell us like they were in on D-Hop. Like I wonder if they regret not going after D-Hop, who's got his own injury concerns right now in Tennessee. But like, where's the explosive plays for this team? I think, again, the Cardinals and their secondary did a fabulous job on Sam Howell last week, limiting the explosive plays. A great job tackling. Like, that's how you beat the Giants, because the Giants, I think, have a very small margin for error with how very similar to the Cardinals, that limited their offense can be. They can't, like Philadelphia or even Minnesota last night, hit the big play over the top, right? It's got to be, a sequence of, 10 to 12 play drives. And that's how the Cardinals want to beat you. I've been told that somebody close to Jonathan Gannon, like, they are not going to get beat over the top. The explosive play, they will make you go down the field methodically and have to have a perfect drive to be able to surrender points. And the Cardinals really kicked themselves offensively because they surrendered 2 short fields last week for Washington to convert those into points. But
yeah.
You sell out for Saquon Barkley, and you make Daniel Jones beat you in this game. Daniel Jones, 3 picks last week against the Dallas Cowboys?
2, right? Was it 3 turnovers?
3 turnovers, yeah.
Danny fumbles a little bit. He's got you really have to get out early to kind of subdue what Barkley likes to do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you can kind of get an early lead, if you can put them behind schedule, that really takes out their ability to take the air out of the football and lean on Saquon Barkley. And you saw Gannon and his Philly defense, what they did in the playoffs to this team. You saw it with Dallas in week 1. That's the game plan against New York. And they're gonna try their best to lean on where they can be successful. And it's going to be a strength against the strength. And the Arizona Cardinals defense has to win that battle in order for them to really have a shot come week 2.
Ben Cork, I want to see Simmons on Dortch. Cards Universe, I hope Ertz feasts on Simmons. I mean, like, Bo, I would not be surprised if the Cardinals went after the former first-round pick.
Can he be out there?
Yeah.
You think he'll be out there?
Yeah,
he played 15 snaps.
Yeah,
last
I think
week.
he'll probably play a little bit more as he, very similar to Dobbs, gets more familiar with the team and what they want to do defensively. But Isaiah Simmons in coverage is a good matchup for the Arizona Cardinals. Isaiah Simmons in run defense, frankly, is a good matchup for the Arizona Cardinals to have and to exploit. This Giants defense, I could not be more meh on. They're incredibly vanilla, and their defensive coordinator's fine. It's their offense with Brian Daboll that I do think is the better of the 2 units. It's certainly got more name recognition with Saquon Barkley and Darren Waller, but I mean, this is not Washington's front 7. You can manipulate it, you can get after them, and I'm excited because I do think with another additional week of practice, Josh Dobbs and Drew Petzing will be able to scheme up really nice drives, especially to open the game, that are going to put the Cardinals in a position to exploit the limitations of the Giants defensively.
Yeah. Don't you think that at least the offensive line and maybe even James Conner are pissed off that they didn't have a great day on the ground week 1?
Well, I think James played pretty well. I think.
No, he did, obviously, but the opportunities weren't there. Like, don't you think, like Paris Johnson, Will Hernandez, that wrestling duo, that tag team duo
there you go,
we love so much, that's emerging here. Don't you think that they just want, and Will Hernandez going against his former team for the first time, don't you think he wants to put some guys on their ass?
I think the Cardinals offensive line is due for a nice day. Yelda Froldholt regressed a little bit from what we saw in training camp in the preseason. I think he bounces back. DJ Humphries needs to play well. Again, I banged on him a lot over the weekend. Back. But like there should be minimal pressure in Joshua Dobbs' face, especially from the edge. You've got a first-round pick on the right side and a first-round pick / $15 million player on the left side. Like this is why you're playing at home, minimal noise, minimal crowd. The Giants front seven, again, their pass rush. Who's a part of their pass rush? B. Joe Jolari's brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's what you got going on. They don't have a premier edge rusher. You got a couple nice defensive
Thibodeau's
tackles.
Really good.
No, he's fine. He's fine.
I think he's more known for doing snow angels while Nick Foles' career is ended last season. But no, he's a guy that you have to, number 5, you have to keep tabs on. And to your point, like DJ Humphries has to be on top of his game. He has to have a bounce back. I saw Dobbs having a pretty lengthy conversation with his 2 tackles. And you love to see it, right? The communication, and Wolfer, the quarterback coach, said that Dobbs is a pretty elite communicator. So as far as making sure they're on the same page.
TikToks? They're fantastic. Yeah. I don't worry about his ability to communicate or to absorb the playbook. I worry about his ability to throw the football downfield like that and complete passes and complete. This is the week for me that Drew Petzing needs to scheme up open plays, and we need to see that offensive savant, that
Hollywood Brown day, right?
Get matchups where you're going to have an advantage, and like if Josh Dobbs is airmailing throws or putting the ball not where it's supposed to go, then we'll have a conversation about Clayton Tune. But until that happens, there were not plays to be had last week that I feel like, outside of the Ertz touchdown drop, that I feel like, Joshua Dobbs just really didn't make a play. Did he hold on to the ball a little too long late in that game, and it cost them? Absolutely. But the screen game the Cardinals had last week was non-existent, was snuffed out by the defense. I just think we have to be smarter offensively. I think they have to be able to dial up and press the buttons at the right time. You always hear that term, like Kyle Shanahan presses all the right buttons, right? Even when guys, think about some of the scrubs that San Francisco has had at quarterback in this offense, but yet they're still semi-productive. The run game, that's what the Cardinals are trying to tap into right now. They do not have a special player.
It could give this offense a facelift.
Absolutely. Because they don't have a special player quarterback right now. They may not for a while, right? And so you ought to be able to supplement, because the plan was, you knew that Kyler Murray wasn't going to be ready for the most part to begin the season, especially for these first 2 games. So it's like dating back to when they hired Drew Petzing in March, like, okay, Drew, what's the game plan? What are we going to do to survive and have our head above water while Kyler Murray is out? When we know we have limitations. At the time, it was Colt McCoy. Now it's Josh Dobbs. I need to see the plan for that, because the plan cannot be, we're winning, and yet we're having Dobbs do a 7-step drop on 3rd and 12, and it costs us the game. You got to be better than that.
I tend to agree with Arizona Animal, and I know he mentioned it earlier in the show about no, and you can go to this comment, Damon, here at the bottom, because it's the same. I mean, send OGs to Dobbs to calm him down. He does seem a bit panicky. It does seem like, his footwork kind of gets out of whack, and he's just not set up for success as far as being accurate delivering the football. And it's like, I know he's going to be amped up for playing in front of the Red Sea, in front of the crowd for the first time, and it's going to be his debut all over again, right? Yeah. But he's got to be able to dial it down a little bit and be composed and make some throws, because there's really going to be a ton of questions. You thought there was questions after week 1. If there's a repeat performance in week 2, he's got to quiet those people. And the way he does that is playing with poise and playing with control and putting some passes on the mark. Because if he hits on some of those in week 1, we're talking about potentially moving them, trying to go 2-0 here.
Yeah, they frankly should be. KR Gordon 08, the reports recently is Kyler Murray, K1 talking to the staff, asking not to be put on PUP to start the year. Didn't want to miss 4 games. I feel like he comes back week 5 and shows everyone he's an elite quarterback. Like, I can confirm, and it's not in line with that he was pushing to practice in August and in the early portion of September, but they aired on the side of caution, like Jonathan Gannon told us that he would back at the NFL Combine. But for me, it's like, right now, you would be not naive to think this, but just by logic standpoint, I cannot see him playing in a game without 2 weeks of practice minimum. I don't think that for the first time he comes back, he's activated off a PUP. Let's just assume after week 4 that 2.5 days of practice ahead of the Bengals, that's going to be enough. For me, it's like activate and then 2 weeks of full prep and practice. And still that
With
might
the quarterback play, if it stays the status quo.
I don't like.
If he's physically ready,
it goes to Clayton Tune at that point. You think he can be ready to lead an offense?
Talking to Izzy today, the quarterback coach, he said that he doesn't expect there to be a long, drawn out learning curve for Kyler Murray, because he gets to be in those meetings. He's getting mental reps each and every day. So, I mean, I don't want to set, an expectation that he can be there by week 5. Maybe it's more realistic, down the line 6, 7, or 8. But if things are going south at the quarterback position and they don't have any solutions, I mean, why not?
Well, I don't want to knock this regime after one game, but this was self-inflicted. Like,
Sure.
if you feel like Kyler was going to miss 8 weeks, 7 weeks, you need to get somebody better to come and be able to complete throws. And I think Josh Dobbs is going to play better this weekend. I don't think Clayton Tune is ready to play an NFL game.
Now, we talked about that last night in the audio only. What do you think? Because I think I've said it as far as my expectation, what playing better looks and sounds like.
Yeah, I think it's on par with what we predicted last week. 1 to 2 touchdowns, passing, running, whatever that looks like, and limiting yourself to 1 turnover. And if that like the passing yards, I think they're not irrelevant, but I think more like you have to lead a couple touchdown drives. And if you can do that, that's a good day. Because again, I think the defense is going to play really well in front of their home crowd. I think again, 21 points is going to win this game. It would have won last week's game. It would have easily won last week's game because you wouldn't have turned the ball over late in the third quarter and in the fourth quarter. You gifted 10 points to Washington. That's why the offense was the reason that Washington got their final 10 points. So if you can limit yourself as an offense to 1 turnover from your quarterback and he can have 2 touchdowns himself and then mix in a third from James Conner, that's a productive day that's going to lead you to probably a victory against the New York Giants. Like anybody who's going to sit around and say, well, this podcast said this and this said that, 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. Like most of the time, any reasonable, competent NFL starter, backup or not, can get you 2 to 3 touchdown drives. Like most teams average about 20 to 22 points a game. And then the upper tier teams, it's like 27, 28, 29. The Cardinals have not scored over 20 points in an NFL game since Kyler Murray played the Chargers and played all 4 quarters. And then he got hurt in the Patriots game that next week. That was 6 games ago.
First drive, yeah.
Like if that continues, you're going to lose games. You're not going to win games with the offense scoring under 20 points. You're just not.
We did this exercise at this time last week. Do we do it again? The Dobbs stat line. Do we want to see a Dobbs stat line prediction in the chat?
I think it's going to be a little less, positive than it was a week ago.
We saw some robust predictions last week.
Yeah, let's go. You start.
Okay.
Get it in the chat. Give us your Josh Dobbs line in terms of passing yards and touchdowns and turnovers. What do you got, Bo?
What do we see? So week 1, just looking at his performance, what was it? Just over like 130?
Get a higher quarterback rating than Sam Howell for everything that he's being knocked for.
132. So he completed 21 passes for 132, no picks, no tutties. He was sacked 3 times, but he had the 2 crucial fumbles.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So when he was I think he's completed like 21 passes his last 3 games, right? But if he can probably turn it up a notch as far as efficiency and then also get maybe a little bit more as far as down the field. I think he can go, let's say 21 for 29 and 210 and a touchdown.
You know, it's ironic. As Jordan P in the chat, three touchdowns, 210. Hell yeah, brother. I love that. I ripped on Colt McCoy, and I'll eat this because he completed 4.3 yards per completion. Yeah. Josh Dobbs had 4.4 last week. I mean, so I call a spade. So it's Colt McCoy-esque. I'm gonna go 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 210 yards. So I maybe like
stole mine.
Yeah, 6. Would you say 210?
Yeah.
I felt like I came up with that organically, and I didn't. All right, I'll do 190.
Let's go through all these numbers. I gotta
see
these. Can we go up a little bit, Damon? So we got Jordan P, 22 for 30, 210, and 3 tutties. Dede, 110 and a turnover. Oh God, don't put us through that. A self-serving media, 20 for 32, 220, 2 tutties and a pick. KR Gordon, 08, no touchdowns, 20 rushing and 175 passing. Wasn't too bad. Is the offense not getting any touchdowns? Is James Conner plunging in? Fishbowl Flash, 160 yards passing, 28 for 41. That's a lot of passes. 2 touchdowns. Eris, 205, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Mars, 15 for 30, 150, a touchdown, 30 rush yards. Eli, 170, 20 for 25, a touchdown. Dylan, 14 for 21, 195, throwing touchdown. Ertz and rushes for 1. Zypher, 80 yards, 20 rushing, 2 touchdowns, 3 turnovers, and then Cards Universe, 17 for 28, 205, touchdown and a pick.
You know, I bet MGM it's like plus 400 for them not to score again. It was like plus 400 last week. Like, I don't like that bet, but I don't hate it. Like, I don't want that to be a reality for everybody, but I'd be naive to say like I think it's like the second best scoring odds behind James Conner for this team is not to score.
Wow.
Which is rough. Times are tough. Here's what I will say. I like
Plus
Zach
400.
Yeah. I like Zach Ertz a lot. Great human being, Hall of Famer in my opinion. I don't want to see Zach Ertz featured in this offense as the number 1 target this Sunday. Please no. The guy off a torn ACL that's over 30 years old.
It's happening. I don't think that's going anywhere anytime soon.
Shut your mouth. I don't like. Can we throw some wideouts, please? How about the guys that can have big explosive plays? Because
Rondell, Hollywood, I'd love to see it. Greg Dortch.
I don't like it.
Dortch said on his podcast, though, his primary job is punt returner right now. He's focused on that.
Right. And Rondell Moore, to his credit, he's healthy. No bugaboos in practice. And he looked good last week. So maybe they'll stretch the field vertically here. I'm looking to stretch my alcohol intake with our friends at Four Peak because I absolutely love it. By the way, Four Peaks, the official beer and brewery of PHNX. It's pumpkin porter season, folks. You absolutely love to see it. The first move I'm doing right after I leave this show in the studio is going to pick up a 6-pack of pumpkin porter because it is the elite pumpkin beer. And I'm allowed to tell you that because I'm a pumpkin aficionado. It is my time. It's pumpkin season.
Pumpkin King.
In conjunction with the NFL, the pumpkin beer is going to be flowing this Sunday as we watch the game. Myself, Bo will be at the stadium. He can't have fun, but I can have fun with all of you, and you can have fun with our friends at Four Peaks. Visit fourpeaks.com/store-locator to find your favorite Four Peaks events. They've got Oktoberfest, Haunted Brewery tours right around the corner. Like, Four Peaks is synonymous with just elite fall festivities. You love to see that. You got to be 21 years or older to drink and drink responsibly. It's the premier and only beer brewery of PHNX. Go get some today.
Proud beer sponsor.
Yeah.
Four Peaks. Also a proud, one of our proud cannabis gummy sponsors. It's OG's. We love our friends over at OG's, the partnership that continues to give. If you're stuck on any kind of gummy, why not check out one of their mix bags? They've got both flavors, the fruits, the creams. Figure out if you're a fruit or a cream guy or gal. They've got the mix bags, 100-milligram bags. You can buy them. You figure out if you like the red apple, the watermelon, the peach, the blackberries and cream, orange creamsicle. You got the strawberries and cream. You got that happy balance, or you've got the sleep time gummy. They got something for everyone. The sleep time gummy is going to help put you to sleep, keep you asleep. Check everything out. See the full product line online. ogsbrands.com. That's ogsbrands.com. Follow them on your socials. You can find them in all your local dispensaries. You got to be 21 years or older. OG's Brands, flavor in life.
Got your predictions there for Josh Dobbs. How about game predictions? Your boys were close last week. Bo predicted a loss because he doesn't like to have any fun. Thought he was going to be able to gloat all week too that the Cardinals win the opener. They did not. Will they win the follow-up? I'm going to kick us off this week. If you're comfortable with that, buckle up, everybody. Johnny's week 2 predictions. Cardinals hosting the New York Giants. They're going to beat the Giants by 4 points. They're going to score 3 touchdowns. The Giants are going to score 21-17. The Cardinals get the first dub under JG and their third dub at home in the last 2 years, and they're led by Hollywood Brown. I was skeptical Hollywood could be effective. He's got a little bit of an ankle. No injury report this week. I think he continues to expand on his route tree with quarterback Joshua Dobbs. Get him in open space and cook those defensive backs for the New York Giants. Hollywood Brown has a big day, continuing to ingratiate himself with this new coaching staff. Defensive side, I don't know. How about the guy that had an interception, was fantastic, forced a fumble at times. I mean, Zaven Collins, to me, recovered a fumble, I should say, is somebody that we need to be talking about, pick up his 5th-year option. But instead of the takeaways, and I love the takeaways, it's going to be the sacks. It's going to be the sacks this weekend. He's going to notch his first sack of the season as an outside pass rusher. I think he sets the tone for that unit, led by Dennis Gardeck. I didn't want to put Dennis Gardeck here and be a homer, but number 25 notches his first sack of the season. Then the X factor, you just mentioned him, it's Greg Dortch. Whether it's on the field, as a punt returner, in the slot, I do think Greg Dortch has a monster punt return in this game. I think he flips field position. Maybe the game's tied late, and they punt to Greg Dortch, and he takes it back 40 or 50 yards. He has been close so many times now. The blocking, I'm not going to blame the blocking for everything. The blocking wasn't great last week in Washington. I think it's going to be much better at home. We are due. He says he's been watching with you, Bo Brock. He told you on the Greg Dortch podcast, he watches a lot of Patrick Peterson once upon a time.
Yep.
Wouldn't it be great? First home win in in a year's time, third in 2 years, if Greg Dortch, number 83, took back a punt for a touchdown. I don't know if he does that, but I think he flips field position in a critical juncture of the game, thus be my X factor. Cardinals win 21-17.
Dylan Walls, 200 viewers, only 14 likes. Let's get on the likes. Let's hit the like for a big Cardinals win. I also see big task at hand. It looks like the G-Men fan base has entered our chat, and that's fine. We'll welcome you here, but hopefully the Arizona Cardinals not so welcoming to the actual Giants come Sunday and get that win. Let's look at my predictions. I've got a Cardinals squeaking out in 18-17.
Squeaker boy.
That's right. This thing is they're going to win by 1 point, 18-17. That means we're not going to see huge offensive performances from either team. But we talked about Zach Ertz. I saw Zach Ertz with a ton of opportunities, was able to cash in as far as those opportunities last week. No, missed on having a return touchdown that would have been huge. I think that Ertz can capitalize on that. And as much as Dobbs looks 86's way, I think he could take advantage of that and turn around a tough game and debut from his knee injury to a really solid game at State Farm Stadium. I know you're pulling for your guy. You're a McBride or die guy. You love it's trade day every day for Johnny
You
Venerable.
love old players, I feel like.
That is not true.
Yeah, you're in your late 30s. You love players in their late 30s.
How dare you? I just think that the opportunities are going to be there. I saw how Josh Dobbs was looking at last week. He's going to continue to look at Ertz's way, and they're going to be able to capitalize this time. My defensive star was a guy who had a solid, really rock solid week one, Jonathan Ledbetter. I looked at where Dallas Cowboys had some success in week one against this Giants offensive line. It was kind of in the middle of that. Obviously, they've got a Micah Parsons and whatever, but I think the teeth of this defense can really kind of continue with that rotation. Jonathan Ledbetter, who had a pick, a sack.
Yeah.
I think he can get another one this week playing that 3-4 defensive end. And then my X factor is the guy we talked to on this very set earlier this week, fitting right back in with Nick Rollis's defense from Philly. Kayvon Wallace can make a big play. He was so close last week. So much familiarity with the Giants. I think that he is your true X factor. He can get his hands on the football. I love what they're doing in the defensive secondary for the Arizona Cardinals. I think Kayvon Wallace can be a game changer for this Cardinals team.
I'm not going to say this podcast predicted Kayvon Wallace to be better than Isaiah Simmons, but we did. When they made that waiver claim, it was a match made in heaven. JG's boy back from Philadelphia came in, and it was a seamless acquisition, right? The Zach Ertz prediction, disappointing, but not unexpected from Bo Brock.
That's right.
Let's just have an offense with Colt McCoy and Zach Ertz. Right. Let's bring back Adrian Peterson. Let's get all the old players here. Can T.O. come play wideout for us? No, Ertz to me, the reason I like Zach Ertz is I'm sure he'll have a short memory. He had a tough game last week. He's coming back from that ACL. I do think he probably will have a line share of the targets.
He had 10 in week one.
I mean, that's gross. That's way too many. But I think a healthy number is 6. Come down with 5 balls, Zach Ertz. That's productive. Michael Wilson needs to get the football. Michael Wilson was unguardable at times in training camp, and I get it. It was against the Cardinal defense. People want to scoff at that. This is one of the young playmakers that you have on the team. He's got size and a physicality. Get him the football. Quick slants, Josh Dobbs. A screen pass, maybe. Let Michael Wilson run the ball in space. You don't have to overthink this. I like Zach Ertz, but he gives you very little after the catch. It's basically a catch and he falls down, right? Mm-hmm. Get your ball to your playmakers. What you can do with Josh Dobbs when you've got talented yak guys, yards after catches, you can mitigate and lower some of his deficiencies. When you ask him to throw it 10 times to a guy who can't move after the catch, you have a very small margin for error. Maybe Rondell Moore breaks a tackle and scores from 60 yards out, a la the Minnesota game last year. Maybe Michael Wilson breaks a couple tackles. Help your quarterback by allowing him to get the ball to his true playmakers. I like Zach Ertz. There is very little upside when you throw him the football after the catch. He can prove me wrong this week, but it's statue-esque. So if you throw a 5 or 4 yard out to Zach Ertz, he's going down. Right? That's not the case with the rest of this receiving core. Let them operate, make plays for you, Drew Petzing. Let's smarten up here.
Let's see. Let's try to answer this question here. What's the bigger story, Johnny, as far as the narrative the next day? If the Cardinals win, do they change the media narrative or is more focus on an 0-2 Giants?
It's the Giants. They'll do this. It'll be the last segment on SportsCenter. Cardinals, they're 1-1. They're still projected to be one of the worst teams in the NFL. It'll be DEFCON 5 for the Giants because I think the Cowboys are going 2-0. Eagles are 2-0 already. Commanders at least have one win right now and are very competent, at least defensively. It'll be how fast the Giants have fallen. And listen, I don't give a shit what the media outside of this show thinks, so it doesn't bother me. This show and everybody in the chat is all that matters to PHNX Cardinals. But no, I'm sure the Cardinals legitimately would need to make the playoffs this year for people to applaud what they're doing.
I was listening to our guy Jody Ayler on Fox Sports 910 today, and Ian Rappaport, fan of the program.
Yes,
he said that teams 0-2 or start 0-2, 11% chance of making the postseason.
So you're telling me the Cardinals, if they go 1-1, are making the playoffs? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know how you misconstrued that, but
I was aces in math. That was my best subject.
But that's the one thing too. Is I really don't understand how Giants fans alike, they think that they're just going to roll in here and get a dub against this Cardinals team, and I think that's the biggest misconception. I think Washington learned a hard lesson. In at halftime, they had to make some proper adjustments, had to make 2 game-changing type plays in order to put themselves in a position to win. You don't just roll into Arizona and get a win right now.
No.
It just doesn't feel like that. And I'm looking at this Giants roster, and I'm trying to see where are they significantly better? Probably Barkley, right? And then
but
outside
I like
of that, they need people to play a lot better football than they have over the last couple of games.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, if Andrew Thomas doesn't play, Cardinals have a better offensive line. Not even close.
Yeah.
I think their tackles are way better. Nobody's scared. John Michael Schmitz looked like a sieve last week at center for this team.
Snap.
Yeah, I mean, you can
hurries. I think
you can take advantage of him. Would you rather have Isaiah Hodgins, Paris Campbell, and Darius Slayton? You could pick them out of a lineup, or would you rather have Hollywood Brown and Michael Wilson and Rondell Moore? I think I would rather have the guy who's been a 1,000-yard receiver and a couple promising young players. Darren Waller, it does not look like the Darren Waller from 3 years ago. I drafted Darren Waller on my fantasy team last year. He was awful. He was unplayable. It was a disaster. He's the same player now. His hamstring's screwed. He can't move. That's their marquee offseason addition. They traded for Darren Waller. So this offense to me, you ought to be able to keep them under 20 points, and thus you're going to be in this game the entirety of the 4 quarters. I love this matchup for the Cardinals. I would so much rather have the Cardinals obviously be 1-0 because the world would literally set ablaze if they were to start 2-0. But I think they win this week, and I feel much more confident, especially what we saw defensively from this team, for them to win this game than I did last week, because it really was an unknown last week. Gannon's going to put his mark on reinvigorating the home crowd. We put this in the audio-only podcast. I said this last night to you, Bo. Cliff Kingsbury did not know how to change the narrative at home. I asked him last year to his face, what are you going to do differently? He's like, we got some protocols in place. We're going to change it up. Right. After 2021 to 2022. It got worse. They won 1 home game last year. It means something for the players to go and represent the state and the community in Phoenix and Glendale, to go out and produce in front of their fans. And you only get one first impression at home. You don't think Jonathan Gannon's aware of that? They're going to make things incredibly uncomfortable for Daniel Jones. I think we have an even better defensive performance this week.
17 sacks in 5 games. That's what JG's Philly defenses did against the Giants in the 5 times they played, including the playoffs. I mean, they ratchet up the pressure. And did you see that? So they had the second most sacks in week 1 with 6.
Yep.
But they had, I think, the second least blitz rate. So they were just generating pressure from normal fronts.
It's almost like their coaches are good, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and they can generate pressure because they can be coached up to it.
No, I thought that he just had all that talent in Philly. And
how's Hassan Reddick doing? You told me before the show. You know how many sacks Hassan Reddick has? And I like Hassan.
If anyone has seen Hassan Reddick, please contact.
He's been non-existent.
He really has.
Dennis Gardeck having more sacks than Hassan Reddick through 2 weeks is going to be the biggest, mind you know what, of the NFL season so far.
If anyone has seen Hassan, please let us know.
The Eagles should have had about 30 points dropped them last night. They got lucky with a couple turnovers. The Cardinals are going to be an elite defensive team under Jonathan Gannon, and you pair that up with a franchise quarterback, they're going to win a lot of games, and you can see the foundation for it. Whether it's Kyler Murray or Caleb Williams or somebody else, they're going to have a top 10 quarterback on this roster paired with Jonathan Gannon, and this defense is going to come after people. You already saw it last week. 6 sacks. Jonathan Ledbetter, Lecky Fotu, Victor Dumakagi, These are people that the casual NFL fan would not know they're associated with the NFL. And they are blowing up Washington's offensive line. Like, they better put Andrew Thomas out there, even if he's 80%. If they watched that tape from last week and they think that they can come in and supplement some quality offensive line play, I mean, you're in for a rude awakening. That's the easiest way for Daniel Jones to go down and stay down. If they think they can trot out some practice squad scrub at left tackle and be okay because it's the Cardinals, go do that. They play on a short week. They play the Niners next Thursday. You bet your ass they're looking ahead. Yeah. They could be looking ahead, and they're suddenly 0-2 on the season. That would be very serving.
Who's more comfortable right now? Rollis, coach defense, or the Daboll / what's his
Kafka. I mean, just from what they did, they're living off of last year. They
were middle of the road. They were like 16 or 17.
But if you got fucking Mike Kafka job interviews, we had to get all the voodoo witchcraft out during that hiring period to make sure he wasn't the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. Everybody and your mom told this podcast he's ready. He's a budding star. They scored 0 points last week. They're terrible offensively. This guy had 70 sacks and 17 picks last year, and people are like, Gannon, I don't know about him. It's like, you have to have a calling card as a head coach.
He said some cringy things.
We don't like him. He's mean to us. He lost to Patrick Mahomes. Okay, man. It's just, Mike Kafka, I'm sure, is a nice guy, and maybe one day he'll be an NFL coach. He should not be an NFL coach in the year of our football Lord 2023. That was the biggest crock of you-know-what. The Cardinals made the right decision. I'm adamant about that. And I think, again, you don't think Gannon knows that Kafka was in the running and people wanted Mike Kafka for this job? The gut meter cannot go any higher. It's at the highest it's going to be. There it is, right there.
We're gonna fucking gut these guys.
I'm putting Daniel Jones's head at the bottom of that if and when they win this weekend. We're gonna have that for the post-game show. Speaking of the post-game show, Bo, you can watch that also while you're tuning in to the game in person with our friends at Game Time. So what you can do is take out your smartphone, download the Game Time app, get your cheap tickets same day, and then stream the PHNX Cardinals podcast pre, post, and halftime. Perfect combination. Speaking of our friends at Game Time, use that code PHNX. You get 20% off your first ticket price. I say it every year. It's like, you guys wait on season tickets. Do what you got to do, right? This team has not been good at home, but you want to save money and go on a loo to a game, especially an Arizona Cardinal game. There's nobody cheaper than Game Time. This is the only place I buy tickets now. Again, I know a couple people last year, that Thursday night win that they got 2 premier seats, 50-yard line, about 10 to 15 rows up, $150. I mean, you can't get anything better. And we're going to get you $20 off using that code PHNX. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Got a great super chat here from Topic 64, but first got to tell you about GoPHNX.com. I was talking to Howard Balzer. He's got a great game preview coming your way for Week 2. Don't want to miss out on that. Also, he broke down Week 1's performances, looked at the snap count, gave a really in-depth look at that. You want to become a diehard, check out phnxlocker.com, gophnx.com. Get in the conversation like we're doing right now in the chat during the live show. It's going on live chat in the member Discord all game long. Johnny's thoughts, my thoughts, GM Saul Bookman's thoughts, even Espo peeks his nose in there. We have a great time in the Discord. Join the conversation there. Only way you can access that is like our guy Brian did today.
Yes,
became
Brian.
a diehard. Big thanks to our guy, B.A. Brian, with the shout-out on Twitter as well. Big thank you to becoming our latest diehard of so many, taking advantage of that, getting in on the great free shirt, the free merchandise you get each and every year, or hat, whatever you choose. Why not make it the Greg Dortch t-shirt? Become a diehard today. Go phnx.com, and, of course, the phnxlocker.com for all of our great gear. But let's get to this super chat here from Topic 64. I'm tired of our guys being disrespected. Media, PFF, everybody. Bo, does Elijah play this weekend? Well, Elijah Higgins, I believe that's who he's asking about. Tight end, rookie tight end at Stanford, converted wide receiver to tight end, had a big role in practice this week, playing the role of Darren Waller. Still don't know if he gets an opportunity this week on game day because Ertz is healthier. You've got McBride, and then I think they've got a lot of trust in Jeff Schwaim.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's not a position the Cardinals need a ton of extra bodies on game day. I think they'd probably be a little wiser. Marquise Hayes get some depth up front on the interior offensive line, maybe an additional defensive lineman. But I mean, that's a loaded tight end room. I think Elijah, to me, is kind of a stash and play later in the season kind of player. Depending on what you do with Zach Ertz, he could very well be traded at the deadline. He could be cut this offseason because of his age and his contract.
Trade Ertz,
yeah, I mean,
you can't trade my offensive player of the game.
That's sad. That's very sad. It's going to be tough for you when that happens. But yeah, Elijah to me, like very similar to Dobbs. Dobbs is playing out of necessity. Elijah just got here an hour ago. I would think maybe like get a couple weeks in, under his belt with practice and see how it goes. I would love to see him like a bulk red zone heavy package to be able to split him out wide or allow him to go up and get the football. He's got some legitimate size like Michael Wilson. Cardinals need to get big in the red zone. I cannot emphasize enough that how small this team has been. You're able to get inside the 20, and they took advantage of the matchup last week with Ertz. He couldn't pull the ball down, but the Cardinals have just a lot of young players I'm intrigued with, but the quarterback position is so dependent on getting the football to him. We can't really evaluate these guys. I mean, it's like it might be one of those things, Bo, until Kyler Murray comes back, the jury could be out on a lot of these players. Like Zach Pascal had a nice training camp, was one of the premier signings for this team as a pass catcher in the spring. Like, where is he? Well, he can't get reps. If Michael Wilson can't get reps, if Hollywood Brown gets 3 targets, like some of these guys who we think could be good, so hard to evaluate when K1's not in the lineup. It makes you just appreciate number one all the more, Bo.
Well, here's what I will say, though, as far as Higgins goes, like if he is active, they've maintained, like, if you get a jersey on game day, you're going to have a role.
You're going to participate.
And Pascal's role is clearly teams. And you saw, if you watch the tape, like you see this, especially on punt cover, Pascal and that whole group, Chris Boyd, Christian Matthew has emerged as guys just flying down the field trying to get to the football. And they're embracing those roles. And whatever, I think if Higgins is active, he wasn't active in week 1. If he is, then yeah, I would expect to see him in some sort of package. And maybe, the red zone's not a bad idea, Johnny. I mean, we have that big-bodied receiver with some athleticism might be an upgrade over, a Swaim or somebody else.
To me, it's this weekend all has to be centered around who can protect Josh Dobbs and who can push their defensive line around. How can they get pressure up front and manipulate the line of scrimmage and push people out of the way? Because this offense cannot go backwards again. You cannot have Josh Dobbs in a position to have to make throws on 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10. Like everything has to be forward, positive yards, right? Use the blueprint. This team wants to be like Philadelphia in so many ways. What the Eagles did last night when Jalen Hurts was not on his game, it's like, we're just going to run the ball 3, 4, 5, 6 yards per pop with DeAndre Swift. And I know they have Jason Kelce. They're in a different position, obviously, than the Arizona Cardinals, but manage this game. Your defense is going to keep you in it. Do not take chances with Dobbs and have him take 5 to 7 step drops. I cannot believe they got away from this last week. Hopefully Petzing and company have learned from the mistake, because when James Conner's eating, let him eat, right? I'm not looking to save James Conner for week 15. I don't care about that. I'm trying to lock up a dub for this home crowd.
Yeah.
And if it takes 30 carries for James Conner to do it, then figure it out. I'm surprised that they got away from that last week. We're not conserving James Conner in a season like this. You're trying to build enthusiasm and a culture for a fan base that has seen a lot of losing football at home. Get a dub. Run the football.
That's right. He's that 1992 Toyota Tercel. Just run up the mileage on it.
You're paying him 8 figures.
You are. No, and I think he understands that. I talked to him today after, being limited in practice all week. I asked him how he was feeling physically. He said he's good to go. He says he's ready to go. The offense understands that there needs to be improvement, and I think it's going to start with 6. It really is. I mean, a lot of people look at Josh Dobbs, but you're right. If you can lean on James Conner, that can take a lot of the pressure off a quarterback and the other playmakers to make plays down the field.
You didn't invest in a back in April when you had an opportunity. You didn't spend money on a back in free agency, and you kept James Conner at his pretty robust salary that Steve Keim gave him. So then you need to lean on your players that are making the most money. I don't want to be that guy who says, you make this much money, you better produce. But like DJ Humphries has to play like a $15 million player this weekend. James Conner needs multiple touchdowns and average 5 yards a carry against a bad Giants front 7. Like you need to take advantage of the guys that were paid once upon a time. I get it, by a prior regime, but you had every opportunity to move off of them. And you said, no, these are the guys that are going to lead us. They're the captains. They got their C on their chest. They're the guys that we want in 2023 to get us through this muck of a season. It's just like, I have no appetite sitting here picking apart a guy, quarterback, who's been here for a minute, or some of these rookies when, like, let's lean on the players that are paid to be superstars, are paid to go out and win you football games on Sunday. That needs to start yesterday. Let's go.
Yeah.
Now's the time.
Outside of Higgins, I think, we kind of mentioned it, probably a heavy rookie. You're going to see a lot of rookies on Sunday. As we mentioned, like Papo could get his number called with Josh Woods down, and Stills could get in there if since we've already ruled out an LJ Collier. So you're going to see, on top of already a Michael Wilson, a Keitrell Clark, and a Paris Johnson Jr., you're going to add on top of that more rookies with an opportunity to make an impact come week 1.
Jose saying play calls dictate who gets the ball, Johnny. Well, James Conner had 10 carries and the team was up 16-10 at the end of the third quarter. I mean, that to me does not spell success. Josh Dobbs turned the ball over right at the end of the third quarter, and the game was lost at that point. Like, the last week's game was the perfect day to run James Conner ragged, to be able to run downhill with number 6. They got away from it. They got cute with Keontae Ingram with some screwy plays in the backfield. They had some pass plays not sync up. And I think the offense is going to be better this week, but if we're doing the postgame show and it's me, Britton Golden, Damon Dog, and Bo Brock live from State Farm Stadium, and James Conner's got like 16 carries, that ain't it. Not this week, not this year. You got to figure it out. This team, maybe we fast forward a year from now and it's Marvin Harrison Jr. and they have a bunch of playmakers and a running back, which would be fantastic. I want that to happen.
I want to sit there for a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk about that more.
That's not our reality in the year of our football Lord 2023. You have James Conner. Use him. Like, it's frustrating because, again,
you have to set up almost a nearly perfect ecosystem offensively for Joshua Dobbs to be successful, right? And that means leaning on 6 on James Conner. The play calling has to be there, and you have to avoid big, back-breaking penalties.
I love this receiving core. I think it's got a chance to be super underrated, but I don't know if you can maximize it or evaluate it right now. I mean, you get your $45 million quarterback back in the lineup, but we're cooking with gas. We got a different conversation. But boots, RPOs, play action, specific quarterback runs, you got to empty the bag of tricks this weekend, and I think they do, Bo Brock. Final predictions, final thoughts ahead of Sunday.
18-17, Cardinals get that dub. Take advantage of a vulnerable, volatile Giants team that I think people are sleeping on. Is in a tough spot right now, and I think the Cardinals can take advantage of it because of the familiarity and the way that they played on defense in the first game. If they can get it going on the offensive side of the football in any capacity, just a slight upgrade over last week, they can come out of here with that win in front of the home crowd, and that would do huge for a fan base wondering what their head coach is all about, and they're getting an idea about it. But seeing him on the sidelines and come away with his first coaching win in regular season play would be huge.
KR Gordon asks where we're going to be at pregame on Sunday, right here, 30 minutes before kickoff, 12:30 Arizona time. Myself, BG, or former Arizona Cardinal wide receiver Britton Golden, Damon Dog behind the mic, and of course, Bo Brock. We're going to try to get you for the pregame show, and then we'll have halftime immediate reactions from the first 2 quarters of Giants at Cardinals, and then, of course, your premier Arizona Cardinal postgame show. We got you locked in from 12:30 on game day. You want to keep it locked in with PHNX Cardinals football, and I think it's going to be a banner day. I think it's going to be a banner homecoming for Jonathan Gannon and company. They score 20 points. They get the win against Daniel Jones and company. Like this video. Subscribe to PHNX Sports wherever you get your podcast, PHNX Cardinals. Like this video. Comment down below. Like it again. If you've already liked it, give it a like one more time just for fun. Budda Baker says thumbs up here on football.
Drop a like.
Yeah, drop a like. Get us to 150 likes. That'd be nice for this show to eat all weekend. What are you going to eat at the stadium on Sunday? You going to have some of their new delicacies?
I'll probably pass on the pumpkin spice latte that you can get your face on.
Yeah.
I'll probably pass on that. I think I'll take advantage of whatever they got cooking up in the press box. They usually take good care of us. So not to rub it in, but
we'll be here slumming. That's fine. We'll be here slumming, and we'll probably have some top ramen. No. We do it big, just as all of you. We appreciate all of you. Fishbowl Flash, thank you. It's been a fun week in preparation, Bo Brock, has it not?
It's been great. Can't wait to hopefully talk and break down a win come Sunday. But we're all going to be doing it right here, of course, on this very YouTube channel or wherever you find your podcast. Make sure you're subscribed. Leave a 5-star. Leave a review. It gets us in front of more people. It does wonders if you do that. Thank you so much. But in the meantime, have a great rest of your Friday. Have an awesome Saturday. We'll talk to you Sunday. PHNX Cardinals.